Lisa Colagrossi, she was a veteran WABC TV eyewitness news reporter who was covering a story last year, and she collapsed afterwards. She died of a brain hemorrhage. She just finished reporting on a Queens house fire and was headed back to the station when she collapsed. This happened in New York City, and if you live in New York, in the New York area, you know her face. She was a staple on TV there. What we didn't know was that she was a huge fan of the Blaze, and she and her husband, Todd, had worked hard to raise their two boys with good Christian values. I lived in New York. That's darn near impossible. Joining me now is Todd Crawford and his and her sons, Davis and Evan. How are you guys?
Great, thanks for having us, Glenn.
Tell me about the day that this happened. She was fine, she was healthy, right? Nobody had any idea.
Nothing more than common head cold in her entire life, and it was March 19th. The day before that evening, we spent the evening at home, the three of us, preparing our March Madness brackets to see whose bracket was going to get busted in the first round of games the next day. March 19th, bright sunny day, beautiful, and I got the call at 9:30 driving home from a business meeting, and as soon as I got the call, I knew we would never see her again. Because
Why?
She was so healthy and vibrant and vivacious and full of life. And when you get that call from a neurosurgeon at a major hospital in New York City, you know something has changed your life forever.
How did you guys deal with that? Just all of a sudden, mom's here, and the next day?
I was at school when it happened. I was actually texting her in class about 10 minutes before it happened. And the last text she sent was like the heart emojis to me. That really touches me. I had no idea that anything happened to her. So I just went home with a friend that day. And later that night, my dad sat us down and told us what had happened and that she wasn't going to make it.
So, kind of a rough turn of events. You're facing now, what are you going to do? How are you going to survive? And you have decided to do something because nobody's really paying attention to a silent killer.
Yeah, the statistics, just to give you a few, Glenn, are staggering of what we know. The disease is just as big as breast cancer and ALS in this country. 6 million people walking around with a brain aneurysm. There are 30 to 40,000 ruptures like Lisa a year, and of those ruptures, almost 50% are instantly fatal. Of the survivors, 2/3 walk around with a major neurological disorder for the rest of their lives if they're not a vegetable.
Number is as big as breast cancer?
Yeah, and ALS, but that's based on what we know, okay? So what we don't know, because the reason I say that is because the only way that you are diagnosed with a brain aneurysm
is if you have an effect.
You either die from one like Lisa, or you go in for another exam that requires you to get a CAT scan or MRI, and the test results come back and say, oh, by the way, you have a brain aneurysm.
How much money is being spent on this in the Center of Disease Control?
So breast cancer receives from the NIH, National Institute of Health, over $600 million a year. ALS receives about $75 million a year. Migraines and headaches, they send $20 million a year researching, which nobody has ever died from, and brain aneurysms less than $1 million a year. And I've called the NIH and the NINDS, which is the division of the NIH, which deals with neurological disorders and stroke, and I can't get a return phone call. I've called each of them 6 times. So the politics that's being played in Washington, D.C. with those two organizations is such that they are allowing people in this country to needlessly die.
Is there something she could have done? Is there something you guys could have done to?
Yeah. So there's no awareness for this disease throughout the country. She walked through the door twice or 3 times a week for 5 weeks. And the first words out of her mouth were, my head is killing me, or I have the worst headache of my life. Everybody in the country describes it the same way. It's written on emergency room hospital charts by ER doctors, WHOL, worst headache of life. Everybody describes it the same. And I said after about 3 weeks, don't you think that we should go get that checked out? As a mother, they do so much more than we do for the family as men, and they're the engine and glue, and she just dismissed it to lack of sleep, stress of her job, and said, I'll just take a Motrin.
You carry that around at all?
Absolutely. Every single night that I lay my head down on the bed and look at these two boys who will never have their mom again. You bet I do. But so we're trying to make a difference now. We're trying to create a parent organization in this country that represents this disease for everyone, not just Lisa. It's about everyone who has ever died or been affected or survived a brain aneurysm, and those who are walking around with one and don't know it. So we've created the Lisa Colagrassi Foundation, which can be found at lisaslegacy7.org. And we hope that that will become the largest private funder of brain aneurysm initiatives in the areas of awareness, education, support, and research going forward. And the first major initiative for the foundation is we've launched a first ever national fundraising campaign called the Lucky 7 Challenge. And it's a pretty simple concept. We're making an appeal to everyone across the country, as many people who have a great heart and want to make a difference, to log on to lisaslegacy7.org, make a donation that has, in an amount that has number 7 in it, which was her lucky number, and then nominate 7 other friends to do the same thing. It's that simple.
Thank you. I really, I'm sorry for your loss. I know what it feels like. I lost a mom when I was about your age. I know what it's like. And God bless you.
Thank you. God bless.
Back in a minute. We're going to sit down.